So for my nerding out, I remembered while we were doing the news that there was something I had watched while on my vacation, and that is the first two episodes of Adam Ruins Everything, from season two. Now, this is one of the shows that I quickly fell in love with. I think you turned me onto it, Corey. I don't remember exactly how I found out about Adam Ruins Everything,
Not me, man.
but it was just one of these that I saw it. I think then it might have been I was just on. It was just on one day, and I'm like, all right, let's check this out. I've heard things about this, so why not? And this show, the first season, they tackled things like nutrition and tackling Dr. Oz or those, the TV doctors, shows that you see on daytime television, and and just debunking that he did a political thing, which, oh my gosh, it's so on point with right now, um, with our election system, and he would tear down everything that's wrong with them, like the thing that you see all the time on daytime TV, like the Today Show or Good Morning America, where the hosts will have this segment about a miraculous study that said that eating enough chocolate could make you lose weight and shit like that. And it's just like when you actually look at the study, and that one is one that they use on the show, and they have the guy who published it to show the flaws of medical journal publications. Um, and so much so to where they literally sent the script for that episode into a medical journal so that they could then reference it, because that's the cool thing. They always reference their whenever they give facts. And so that they include the reference to the journal where they published the script for that episode. Got real inception-y there for in that episode. But he does it in a way that's super entertaining. The first two episodes covered the first episode covered Hollywood, and like the award shows and stuff like that. Like you see your favorite actor or actress on the red carpet, and you look at what they're wearing, and you don't think, oh, it's all just an ad. Guess what? It's all just an ad. They don't. And it's cool because they had Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the
Yeah,
creator,
I was seeing that.
on there, and she was helping debunk that. She's like, yeah, in fact, we don't always look like this, and she's all nice to dress up. And in fact, when we wake up, we look like this. And I'm like, that's actually a really great point that she's making out here. But I'm like, whoa, yeah, I forgot about that. That those actors and actresses are people. What? And
So it's Soylent Green. Spoilers. um,
there's the spoiler, folks. But no, and then also that award shows aren't really like, oh, the best person won. And it was funny because the first two episodes, where it seemed like the first episode was attacking me because I'm like, oh, I love Hollywood, I love these things. And then the second episode was on football. And I'm like, oh, well, this one's going after my sister's husband, or yeah, my sister's husband, because he's a big sports fan. And I'm a sports fan too, but I understand all these things, like these the CETs, the concussion syndrome that you get, or CTEs, sorry. Um, and just and how that there is a need to change the sport, um, and all that. But and the way they did it, I honestly feel like people would have a better understanding of what's happening to these players and why there's, you saw a big step up from a lot of athletes saying, I'm going to donate my brain after I die to concussion science so that, things get better for the future players.
you might as
And
well
all.
donate it to 7-Eleven because at that point in time, it's going to be the consistency of a Slurpee. But I feel you.
Yeah. And but it's really cool. I love how they do the show. I think it airs Wednesdays on True TV. I don't remember the exact day, but I was just like, it just dawned on me as I woke up on Sunday. I'm like, everyone's getting ready. Why don't I just watch Adam Ruins Everything? And
Yeah,
because it's
and
on.
I think I talked a little while back about, maybe it wasn't even on this version of the show, but Going Deep with David Rees, which is kind of a
Yeah.
taking things that you normally don't think about and going further and further. No, this kind of show, it's this kind of new smart programming that is uh, entercational. It's fully an entertaining program, and it's aimed at so much of making you feel like you're just kind of watching something goofy and comedic, but at the same time you are getting educated on it all at once, and it's sort of tricking you into learning, which is,
Yeah.
I always think, is awesome. Um, and
Not
I
gonna lie, educational sounds a little wrong.
yeah, that's right.
Like
It
like
does.
I need to sign a waiver
I need an
before
adult.
you you education me or something. Um, but no, yeah, it is exactly like that. Which is cool. So, Corey, you've been watching a movie, have you?
I no, I watched a fuck ton of movies. So it was a 3 day weekend for those of us who I don't know, have to work normally, and then we enjoy an extra day off here and there. Thanks,
Hooray.
country. Um,
Morocco.
and so on Saturday I just kind of vegged out. Well, Saturday and Sunday, because it was too much to just take one day. It had to spill over. Freeform, which was ABC Family back in my day, played the almost entire Harry Potter series. I say almost because they skipped one. Even though they split up to the next day, they skipped over the Order of the Phoenix, which I'm
Which is weird because they
really
used
okay with. I mean, Order of the Phoenix has some pretty dark stuff that happens, but so much of it is about the Dolores Umbridge character, and that
yeah.
she just annoys me so much that I don't think I could have handled watching 2 or 3 hours of her going all the time, and just like, oh god, no. It was bad enough when she showed up in the last movies, but I watched most of the Harry Potter films in the theater as they were coming out. Erin and I have been together the entire time since they started. She had bought me the books initially, and while I have the whole series, I've never actually read them. Just it was like it just kind of like, well, I might as well wait until they all come out. And by the time they all came out, I'm like, well, I've seen all the goddamn movies.
Yeah.
But by about the time, I think Order of the Phoenix might have been the last one that we saw. Maybe we went to see Half Blood Prince at the theater. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it got harder to follow them.
Yeah.
It got like, obviously watching the kids grow up is cool, but the movies got darker, characters started to die. It really took a turn after Goblet of Fire, which I think may be my favorite of the movies because of the dark turn that it took. But it really treats the characters well. It shows that transition from being the little kids to being young adults so well, that it stands out to me. And I first noticed that in the third one, which I don't remember if that was Prisoner of Azkaban or something. I get them all mixed up a little bit. But there was a moment in Prisoner of Azkaban where the boys are all eating candies in their room, and the candies are making them turn into animals or like make animal sounds. And it was just such a great moment of, it was just them being young boys and goofing around. It had no bearing for the film other than the fact that it's this magical scene with obviously magical candy that we've experienced some of that stuff before. But to see kids being kids in the midst of all the rest of these stories, I thought was a really key and essential thing that they needed to do more of. It's like, I don't need another fucking Quidditch match, but I'd like to see the characters kind of get explored as themselves. And that's what the movie started to go towards, but it just got really hard. So I watched on HBO the first Deathly Hallows, and then eventually when it got released HBO, the second Deathly Hallows. But I think maybe because I didn't watch them all in a row, it was hard to understand exactly what was going on by that point. I'd forgotten all about the Horcruxes, and fuck, there's Dobby. Why do I have to deal with Dobby again? Watching them, watching them in a series, because it's a lot of movies. You know, even taking them away, it's 7 films. It's a big chunk of time. It just, you really get immersed in it. You really get to kind of like, yeah, you're watching them grow up, but the story just kind of becomes more impactful, I think. There's something different about that. And so I kind of, I sat there and I watched all the ones through Saturday, and I think it took us all the way up until the last 2 they had to wait to do until Sunday. So I recorded them on Sunday. I even stayed up late Saturday night watching Tom Felton did this documentary called Superfans, which was very good. Dealing with fans of you that you don't understand quite why they're so obsessed with you and why they follow you around. He had this woman that followed him essentially to Paris. He's like, why would you come all the way out to Paris, you know, just to like see me in line somewhere? But then she gave him a card that was about his dog had just recently passed away, and it was a condolence card about his dog dying. And he was taken aback by that. He's like, well, that changed my perspective of who she is. Because it's not just someone who wants my autograph. It's someone who actually seems to show some real care about, you know, my life. And why do I not know more about this person? And why do I not know what makes them tick? So he goes into that with a few different kinds of fans, and he goes to some conventions and stuff and dresses up and kind of gets to hang out with people and see how they do things. It was really good. I went on Twitter and I messaged him and just like, hey, you know, not that I'm going to hear anything back, but I was just, you know, this is a really good film. I just want to tell you, great job. But as far as the Harry Potter thing, yeah, it gets really dark. You start to, obviously, characters start dying. In the end, a lot of characters die. And it's not so much that it's willy-nilly, but it's so much is happening that's hard to follow it, and you can't see each of the moments where it happens. And you feel like, well, why did that character die? And how did that character die if they didn't show it on screen? But it does come together much better. It's felt much more compelling to get to see them all in that row like that. And I mean, everybody's seen Harry Potter by this point. There are certainly people who are so obsessed that probably do regular watchings of the series in a row like this all the time. But it was just, for me, I hadn't done that yet, and it was definitely worth it. Like, I don't even know that I would do this with the Lord of the Rings at this point. Like, I would do it with the Lord of the Rings and have not the Hobbit. Man, the goddamn Hobbit. Like, I don't know that even sitting in a row and watching that is going to improve, because it's just way too long as it is.
Yeah. So, I'm going to share a couple things with you. First off is that Brandon Raymond totally agrees with you. And that he also states that the films were bad visual outlines of the books for him. And that he also can't even revisit the book that you mentioned that they skipped over, but you were cool with, because of Umbridge.
Yeah, I mean, Dolores Umbridge, she's supposed to be a character that fills you with rage and everything, but it's hard to
great way.
Well, I don't even know that it's that, but I do believe that you have to feel interested by the villain. You know, if you're going to have somebody who is putting the good characters through their paces and everything, you can say what you want about Lex Luthor. He's a compelling, interesting character, unless he's portrayed by certain people in Batman v Superman. You feel that way about Magneto. You feel that way about Doctor Doom. Those characters stand out because even though they're the bad guys, even though you completely vehemently disagree with the Red Skull in every sense, he's compelling to read or see. You know, it's kind of unfortunate he didn't get to do enough in the Captain America movie, and then, you know, is gone from the Marvel Universe, because I think there's so much more there that could have been explored. Mm-hmm. But let's skirt the Hitler shit for a little while. But you have to make characters like that. even the bad guys, you have to make them compelling and make it
Yep.
so that you want to read about them. And Snape is exactly what you want to see. Voldemort, for the most part, is like that as well. I think so many of the characters in there are interesting. Dolores Umbridge is just irritating. It's like this tickle in the back of my throat that hasn't gone away for the last 3 weeks. And I keep coughing to the point where I'm in pain and my nut wants to pop. I just don't think that there was anything about that character that makes me want to revisit her in a film or anything else, other than the fact that it's implied that she was raped by the centaurs, which I don't really believe is the case, but that is a subject for a lot of debate on the internet.
Yeah. But the other thing I was going to mention is that I have not seen all the Harry Potter movies. I think Order of the Phoenix is the last one that I've seen.
Yeah, and I could see why it might have put you off, because it kind of did for me.
It's not that it necessarily put me off. It's just that, I was in the fourth, fifth grade when maybe even sixth, somewhere around there, when the Harry Potter books started coming out. And I read the first one and I read the third one. I don't know why I didn't read the second one, but then I got the fourth one and I'm like, fuck that. That book is heavy. I am not going to read that book. And
they do get progressively longer. Yeah. And that's another thing, is that the movies start having to chop up and take stuff out that I know that the readers feel like we're missing so much in these films. And then by the time you get to the last book, which is split into 2 films, that first movie, I'm not going to say it's not a compelling watch, but there's a lot of stuff that is just like, it's a long time between things actually happening, that it's not terribly interesting to watch that movie. And if it wasn't for the promise of what's happening in the second part, it wouldn't be very good.
Yeah. And also the other thing I will point out is that right now, Brandon Raymond is watching us on his 55-inch television, and I don't know how I should feel about that. Because part of me is like, wow, I got a big head. Like with how my camera's set up, it's like my head is freaking massive. And then
that's exactly what I want to apply. I kind of want to pull out my junk and just it's the best it's ever going to look, or it's going to be like, you should have that checked. You should definitely see a physician.
And it says that he realizes that 55 inches of Corey is what he's been missing in his life. Again, going back to the whip out your junk.
Yep.
But
it's what everybody's been missing, man. But no one more than my wife.
But yeah, I mean, the Harry Potter movies, there's something that have interested me. It's just when it got to the point, like I think at the time when Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out, I had HBO for that, like for a brief moment, and I'm like, can I watch this, or have I seen all the movies yet? And then it got to the point where I'm like, I'll catch them on ABC Family, then now Freeform. And because that was something else that, like, I was flipping through the TV and I'm like, Harry Potter's on. What Harry Potter is this? Well, I know it's not like the first 3 because Hermione's hot, answering Beat's question there. Or sort of answering Beat's question there. And she's not like the little girl who's, it's like, it's a little, she's my age, but sort of deal. So I know it's like one of the later ones. It's at least 4.
She was apparently in Marin recently. She went out to the San Rafael Alta, and all the people who work there were freaking out about it and everything. She's an awesome actress. It's kind of cool. I really do love the fact that these 3 leads that were in these movies, and we saw them grow up, that they are doing other things, that they're doing very interesting things, that they're still respectable. They're still like, they didn't ever go crazy. I love that some of Radcliffe's stuff is just so weird. Like he's made some of the most popular movies of all time, and then he goes and he does weird shit like Horns, and I just think that's so cool.
I thought you
I,
were going to. He goes and does.
I don't really know much about Equus, but I think that's really neat. I think it's great that Rupert Grint has got that project coming up. The TV series based off of not Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but the Snatch, which itself sounds inappropriate. But I just think that that's so excellent that these guys are still like, you know, they didn't just ride around on their fame and everything. They're just really interesting actors and actresses, and they're still doing big stuff. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to go on the Emma Watson thing here for a second, she did that. She did Perks of Being a Wallflower. She was I think she went to NYU. Yeah, she went to NYU for school. She's, you know, doing like all these things about feminism and all that. And I'm like, hell's yeah, dude. Like, and it's cool. It's cool to see all of them do things like that. A lot of the people from Harry Potter. I mean, you look at it, we get blanking on his name, the Twilight boy who was
Rupert
in there.
Grint. Not Rupert Grint. No. What the hell am I talking about? Patrick.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson was in Harry Potter. The lead in How to Get Away with Murder was in Harry Potter, because that's when I'm like, when I flipped it on, and it just happened to be where I was on Freeform. I'm like, hey mom, come here, and I was showing her. I'm like, the actor here, and it cut away to him. And I'm like, the actor who's behind her, the black kid on there, he's the lead in How to Get Away with Murder. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, he's British. What? I'm like, yes, he's British.
Well, I mean, the other thing about watching the movies is it's so fun because you get to see them roll out every famous British actor or actress as the series goes along. It's like, oh, when are we going to see a Doctor Who person? There's David Tennant, you know, just like, oh, here he comes. Where's Bill Nye? There's Bill Nye. You know, they just keep showing up. It's like, all right, that's great. And it's fun to see them because a lot of them really get pulled into the roles that they're playing. Some of them are almost indistinguishable from the role that they're in this. Like, you have to look at them really hard to go, oh, wait, oh, that's who you are. And it just, like, Hagrid is always going to be Hagrid to me, but I know he's been in so much other stuff. It's like, but you're Hagrid, man.
Yeah, all with the exception of John Cleese.
Yeah, but
because John Cleese is in there, Nearly Headless Nick, and it's like, no,
goddamn John Cleese.
Yeah, exactly. So